Hey guys, I'm Scott Brown, a solo developer for the game Journey for the Crown, and in this video I'm going to be discussing how I stay motivated. Now I've been working on this game for close to 7 years now, so I really know what I'm talking about on how to keep yourself motivated. I think I've figured out most of the problems that people run into, and I've learned to overcome them, so I'm just going to show you some of the things that I do to keep myself going. Now, one area where motivation really suffers is at the starting. Every new developer is going to struggle learning how to understand how to use the game engines out there, the scripting languages, because they all have different scripting languages. But don't let that get you down. I'm not a very smart guy. I barely passed in college. I skipped class all the time, and I played tons of video games. So don't let the academic difficulties of making a video game get in the way, because really once you get past a small hurdle, it's very easy after that. Now, one thing that was really working for me was I had set myself some goals. I didn't entirely do it on purpose, but it's just the way that I think we all work this way, is you end up picking something to do and you try and complete it. So my first thing I set off to do was get the movement scripts going and see how I can implement my game, at least in that simple form. And then after that, it was working on inventory and making that as squeaky clean as possible. Now, I could go on and on about all the different things I added in the game, and essentially that's really what you need to do, is just put some things together, try and get it as close as possible to what you want your game to be like. And once you get it to that point, it's very motivating to see something that's been built by you. It's an extremely gratifying feeling. And once you get through that part, you can really enter into a different stage, which is polishing and adding content. Now, I'll be honest with you, I struggle the most in this area. It can be dry at times, and I remember when I was first starting game development, I figured this was the easiest part. I think it's actually the hardest. I prefer to prototype. I could prototype all day long, making scripts and all that stuff. But when you enter in the content stage, perhaps some people are really good at it, and they don't battle the problems that I have. But I find it very tiresome. I've spent months doing the same task over and over and over. For example, I worked on the abilities and talents in my game. I think I did it for 6 months. And I did things like stream on Twitch to keep myself motivated and interact with other people, and it was a tremendous help. Without that sort of thing, I think I'd still be stuck there, to be honest with you. So I found some ways to reach out and talk with people and get feedback, and Twitch was a massively invaluable tool that helped. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have to stream in order to be a successful developer. I'm just saying that Twitch is very helpful over there, and even as a viewer, I do it all the time. I have many friends that I frequently watch. Now, with all that being said, essentially what I'm saying is reaching out to family and friends and anybody else that you think would be helpful is a huge part of doing any solo or game development work. Now, in my channel, many people have frequently suggested that if you're battling motivation, game jams are a way to really conquer that. Now, I don't agree with that at all. In fact, I've never even done a game jam, not one. I've just worked on my projects this entire time. Now, the reason why I don't want to do that is because I know it's going to gas me out. I'm going to learn some stuff. I'll maybe generate some really cool ideas. But essentially, game development in any form is more work. It's more time being spent doing things. And if you're into the game jam just for motivation, it's a bad idea. Really take a step back and figure out what is actually making you lose motivation. Is it the tasks that you're doing? And are you bored? That sort of stuff. And that's what you need to tackle first. Now, I mentioned the word bored. And this happens to me all the time. I get really bored. And when I get bored, I know why. It's because I want to do something different. And there's lots of things that'll pull you away from your task of making a game. And it's probably going to be a task that's really crappy. You don't want to do it. like the abilities and talents of my game. It was so repetitive. I found within that moment, I struggled the most. I had games that I loved to play constantly dragging me back in, and then like I would find myself leaving my desk frequently to go get a snack or refill up my water and things like that. So you start to recognize the patterns that are killing you. And it was when I was always bored doing this really boring task. So you have to recognize that. Now, as anything in life, that's so much easier said than done. But you just have to grind it out. There's going to be some shitty stuff that you got to do, and you just have to grind it out. Try and do it as fast as you can. Set a timer. Like sometimes I'd say to myself, okay, at 4 o'clock today, I'm going to shut this shit down, and I'm going to leave, and I'm not going to look at it until tomorrow. Those are the kinds of days I had. But don't let that discourage you, because honestly, like I can remember some of the pain and all that stuff, but I don't care anymore. It's done. I'm super happy that it's done. I don't really look back and say, oh man, I'm refueled after that's done. You know, once you get to that point where you're, oh my God, I finished all that crap, it's like full gas again. So with that being said, just remember and tell yourself that once you get through a very difficult task, it's easy road after that. Until you find your next one, of course. Another thing that I frequently do is I listen to music when I'm developing. Sometimes you're not able to do that, but when you can, I'll listen to some music that kind of gets you going like a hot cup of coffee. And then other days where you're kind of feeling glum and all that stuff, you can throw some more calming music on, maybe that bring a more positive attitude mentally towards you. So there's some strategies there that you can maybe try as well. Now, there's going to be a lot of people out here that don't like to hear this advice. And I've not seen a single developer out there suggest any of this advice before. It's always just me. I've been doing this for almost 7 years working on one game. You know, lots of other developers, they work on multiple different games and they got a variety of things happening. Maybe they work in teams. I've been doing this for 7 years all by myself. So I think I know the distractions when I see them. And the biggest one for me is you can't play video games and make a game. Now, a lot of you are probably shaking your head because you're crazy over video games. That's why you want to make a video game. I understand. I'm harnessing that desire to want to just melt away and play my favorite MMO right now. Like, my entire scope and business model for this game is to make a game that I'm addicted to, just like I was with all the games that I grew up playing. I love video games. I miss them. It's the hardest thing for me not to want to do is just quit everything and play a video game. So this is going to be my best piece of advice, I think, for everybody, is if you want to play a video game, don't try and make a game at the same time. If you want to try and make a game, take a break from playing games and just see for yourself how easier it is to stay motivated than having this game on the side of your mind all day long itching at you to play. Now, I don't believe this applies to somebody working in game development because they've got timelines. They're being paid by the hour to do something. It's a completely different element when you're working for yourself. Now, after a little while, you'll forget how addicted you were to that game, and then you can take that same addiction and transfer it over to making your own game. That is the secret that I've been using for so long. I've known about that from the very starting. Now, I've seen a lot of failure in this industry. It's too bad, but I think it's just the nature of how we come from playing a video game, which is meant to be easy and enjoyable, to then having to put together something that's extremely difficult. Now, really what I'm trying to say to you is if you have a really good idea, you've got everything in place that you need. All you got to do is put that idea together, prototype away, grind out some of the hard parts, and then show off what you have. Now, you don't have to wait to finish the game. You can show it off early, but I got to tell you, watch out for the comments. I've had some nasty comments in the past. I remember all of them. I often forget the kind things that people say, and I know there's far more kind things that outweigh the bad. But you got to take those bad things and just ignore them. I've they tear me apart inside still. But I don't let it discourage me, and I try to listen to some of the comments. Some of them are just blatant jealousy, or, they're just trying to derail me. You can kind of see some people who are very envious out there. So you have to watch out for that sort of thing. It is hard work. It's very competitive. You're going to find haters. So just try and ignore that. I try my best to do it too. You can let it bug you a bit, but don't let it take you down. Now, this isn't entirely about motivation, but I suppose it has an aspect towards it if it does get in the way. But that is the monetary part of making games. You're not being paid to make a game unless you're working for somebody. So that is an element that could really derail you as well. So you have to consider that when you're planning to make a game. You have to cover all your bases. You can't just go at this broke. You're going to need money. You're probably going to have some sort of employment to back this up, because you can't rely on things like Kickstarter and Patreon to fire up an idea. It doesn't work anymore unless you've got some sort of credentials. You probably shouldn't be watching this video if that's the case, but you're not going to be able to do it on Kickstarter. Those days are long gone. Kickstarter's dead. You might be able to get something going on Kickstarter if you're super lucky and they throw you on the front page or something like that, and you have a compelling idea. But everyone has an idea now. We make fun of those guys sometimes when they come in with these grandiose ideas and they expect you to drop what you're working on and work on their idea. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you weren't offended in any way by what I said, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. This industry is very competitive. There's a lot of people who are going to try and tear you down, and there's lots of work. But the best part about it is it's a ton of fun to make a game. You learn so much. Your brain is constantly learning all these cool things and how to conquer conflicts. It's an exceptionally gratifying thing to work on. Anyways, that's it for this video. Good luck in your project, and I hope you stay motivated. Take care. Thanks.